Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Pallet of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer 40k Combat Patrol magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. Love hearing back from you guys, it goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this week we are on issue 41 of Combat Patrol magazine. Before we get to the really good stuff, I am going to quickly go through this. So obviously we have a nice new terrain playmat. It's double-sided as per usual. One side is very barren and the other side looks like it's got some toxic spills and stuff like that. Either way, pretty cool. It's not too bad. It's a little bit more enjoyable, and obviously if you have the older playmats from Imperial magazine or Conquest, then obviously you can utilize them with the scenarios from good old Combat Patrol as well. Happy days. The other thing we're going to quickly go through is inside the magazine this week you get a little leaflet. This leaflet is advertising a terrain pack that you can buy through Hatchet Partworks eShop. So entirely up to you if you do. What I am going to say is it is actually a really good value. So, this terrain pack includes 2 STC Hab bunkers, which for one set with the bunker with some of the stockade walls, £55. So, that's £110 worth already. You get the landing pad, which £47.50 if you wanted to get that. The Uspec Shrine and Vox Antenna was also £47.50. So you get quite a lot of bang for your buck. You're going to get it all for 80 quid. And that is actually really good value for money, in all honesty. I mean, you're saving quite a lot. You're saving around about £120 off the top of my head. Yeah, pretty cool. I really like that. I think it's a really good value for your money if you want the terrain. If you don't want the terrain, obviously you don't have to buy it. I imagine stock of these might be a bit limited. If you're big into your 40k and you wanted to, you could always buy multiple of these and have quite a lot of terrain if you're going to do some really big battles maybe. And you really fancy it. Personally, I won't be getting them because I haven't got anywhere for the terrain to live, let alone the time to build it, paint it and everything like that. But that's really cool. It's really good value for money. If they do that for every subsequent magazine that they do, if they do anymore, then that's good value. Really good. Really wise decision for them to do. So happy days. Anyway, the main show for this week's magazine obviously is our mini. It is our first Orc mini. It is the Warboss in Mega Armor. He's pretty big, he's pretty chunky. This is a push fit mini. Now, my biggest drawback, as I may have mentioned before, I may not have, push fit minis are sometimes a little bit crap because of how they fit together. Them pegs are sometimes a little bit too tight for the holes, which, you know, sounds like a euphemism for something. However, it isn't. They genuinely can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Sometimes they're slightly oversized, sometimes they're not molded quite correctly, and you may have some that are slightly too long for the hole. Personally, my best way of dealing with it, because sometimes they do kind of get stuck, and obviously pushing a perfectly sized item into a hole makes it kind of traps air in there. You may want to try and release that air because otherwise it won't sit right. I like to shave down part of the peg. Also sounds like a euphemism for something. Yeah, if you trim down part of that peg, say like down the side, even if it's just a millimeter, it allows air to escape, which is a real good thing to do. If you really wanted to, then you can cut the whole thing off and just glue it all together, which, in all honesty, sometimes is worth it. But, yeah, entirely up to you. But pretty good stuff, and it's a really cool mini. He has that Gretchen on his back, which is, you know, wielding a machine gun, because Gretchens would, wouldn't they? Anywho, going into this week's issue, we have our build guide straight off the bat. So obviously this is a push fit mini, so it is literally clip it off a sprue, clean it up, get all them little nodules off the actual piece itself, and then push it together. As I say though, push fit minis are sometimes a little bit crappy to put together, so you may want to consider cutting the pegs off. You may want to consider just trimming down the side of the peg to smooth it off so it fits a little bit easier. But you know, you don't have to, and if you want to just push it together, you don't have to use glue, which is okay in all honesty. But otherwise it's pretty cool. One piece not to put on though is the exhaust pipes on his back, because then you can get in to paint every other area. With the exhaust pipes on, in all honesty, he will be a nightmare to paint. So consider that a bit of a tip, both from me, and it's also mentioned here in the magazine. Anywho, going on to painting, obviously using the Bad and Black is a very, very good undercoat for it. Personally, spray paint is better. If you're going to be painting up this many minis with a Bad and Black, you are going to run out of that paint. This is true for anything. So for instance, we use a lot of the Bad and Black with good old the Chaos Space Marines, because they are clad in black armor and stuff like that. If you get some spray primer, one, you get a nice even coat, as long as you're not being daft with it, and two, it's far faster to paint up. The one thing that with some of the plastic minis is some of the release agent is still on the minis occasionally, and on sprues, so sometimes when you paint directly onto it, it may kind of separate the paint a little bit, and kind of have this weird effect on there, like it's kind of dried out in one area and spread out and not quite covering it. If you spray it, you don't have that problem, because that doesn't really ever affect it. But that is all to do with the release agent from molds and stuff like that. Personally, brush kind of priming minis is one of my worst things ever. I do not like doing it. It's so time consuming. It's such an annoyance. I'll only ever do it for certain minis, and I'm not going to lie, I have a whole backlog of minis where I haven't done it at all. So personally, spray paint is your friend. Just make sure, as I've said many, many times, one, you're doing it in a very, very well ventilated area. Two, you're doing it in the right temperature range. So spray paint generally has a real good temperature range of between 16 degrees and around about the 24 to 25 degree range. Going over that, so for instance in the UK, we're having a heat wave at the moment, and some areas are getting to temperatures as high as 30 degrees, and summer's not over yet, so we could get even higher than that. 30 degrees is probably too much. So if you're spraying it at 30 degrees, it's going to start drying before it's hitting the mini, and it'll be like powder coating it. It'll just go chalky, it'll feel horrible, it will look horrible, and you'll get a real rubbish effect out of it. I've made that mistake before, where I've sprayed at too high a temperature, and I've sprayed in too cold of a temperature. Either way, it's easily done, but try not to do it, because it'll make your life so much easier when it comes to actually painting up properly. Anyway, enough talk about spray paint, we think. Anyway, spray paint is all done. Anyway, once you've undercoated it, obviously using your auric flesh over the fleshy areas. Don't forget about Gretchen on top. Don't forget his arms, his shoulders, and his face and fingers and everything like that. Using a bit of a Bad and Black to touch everything up and kind of go over the areas where you may have gone over it a little bit too excessively. Will help you out. Mephiston Red for the cloth hanging from his groin area, and for his Gretchen friend's trousers on his back. Then obviously using things like your Avalanche Sunset, good old Macragge Blue, Lead Belcher Mechanic Standard Grey and stuff like that, and Norn Oil, Agrax Earthshade. All these colours will come into real good use to help you out. Your Corax White and good stuff like that. It's, so easily done. Not going to lie, the mini's not super challenging to paint up. He has a few little nooks and crannies, so things like that skull on his chest and stuff like that, where it's a little bit more hidden behind the weapon that he's carrying. It can all be done, but it can be a little bit time consuming. Have a bit of fun with it, enjoy painting it, that's the main thing. And once you're done, you're going to have a really cool looking unit at the end of it. And yeah, you'll look pretty damn cool. There'll be a few little bits that we can add to it later on, which will make it even better. And obviously shading over the face and everything like that. So if we get some of the might be a Phonian camo shade that we get or something like that. I think it's a Phonian camo shade. Might be something else. I can't even remember what it's called all the time. We get another green shade, I would reckon. Yeah, going over that with that will kind of get him onto all them recesses and bring it kind of up to colour. If you want to do the accent pieces and the little decoration, not gonna lie, checkerboard pattern can be a pain in the ass. Take your time with it. If you go wrong, just go back over with the other colour to kind of neaten up areas. You'll have fun and enjoy it. But yeah, you can get some real cool looking minis out of the orcs, which is definitely worth having a nosy online to see how people have painted it up and what you can get done with it. Anyway, moving on from there, we get a nice read section for Slaanesh. So Slaanesh is the chaos god of excess. He is a master of excess, delighting in extremes of emotion and sensation. Slaanesh is known to his followers as the Dark Prince and the Prince of Pleasure, among other names. To the Eldari, Slaanesh is known as She Who Thirsts, the ancient bane of their dwindling species. Slaanesh is associated with temptation, sensation, and pleasure, growing stronger from his followers' indulgence in their hidden desires and their deepest wants. Whatever the motivations of his followers, he quickly perverts their aspirations to his own foul ends, turning confidence to arrogance, desire to envy, and bravery to battle lust and sadism. So, as you can imagine, Slaanesh is a little bit twisted, and obviously a fan of nocturnal activities. Anyway, Slaanesh is one of the more interesting chaos gods. I must admit, I find Slaanesh quite interesting. I find it more interesting than Nurgle, definitely more interesting than Khorne, because Khorne is just interested in smashing everything and killing anything it sees and wanton destruction and murder and everything like that. Slaanesh is a little bit more subtle, and yeah, Tzeentch is Tzeentch, really, isn't it? There are some really cool chaos demons in the Slaanesh hordes. So, for instance, the Contorted Epitome is a really cool unit. I must admit, it's one of the nicest looking units as well. You have Fiends, Hellflayers, and the Keeper of Secrets. The Keeper of Secrets is, in all honesty, a really cool unit, and definitely one that I would say if you're going to go for a Slaanesh army, get yourself this guy, because he's really cool. Whether you're going for whether this is going to be a 40k army, or if it's going to be a Age of Sigmar army, the Keeper of Secrets is really cool, and yeah, a visual delight, really, isn't it? So definitely worth having. Anywho, going on from there, we get a collect page to kind of kick us off with the orc characters. So obviously we're going to get a load of orcs over the next 10, 11 issues. Well, within the next 20 anyway. So, the warboss with Mega Armor, we can give him his name with this little naming table, which is pretty cool. You can name your Death Dread, and you can also get your name ready for your Boomdacker Snazwagon. The Boomdacker Snazwagon is one of the coolest names for any vehicle ever, and I will not hear anybody say anything different because it's pretty damn cool, and it looks really cool as well. So my personal thing is with the orcs, they have really cool vehicles. If I was going to go for an orc army, I would probably go down the Speed Freaks route, so very vehicle heavy, because they're cool, they're interesting, and good fun. So yeah, there's that. I'm looking forward to that mini. It should be really good fun. Going forward from there though, you get your page to actually give your warboss all his name. So you have a different name table there as well. So you could utilize either one, entirely up to you. You can write it down, you can tick off when it's built, painted and played with, and have a bit of fun. Obviously on the other side you get your data sheet as per usual as well. We already have the data card for it though, so you don't necessarily need this, but pretty cool stuff. And obviously does have a bit of special unique rules as well. Pretty good stuff. Then we move on to our scenario for the week. So no basic rules this week, but we have a scenario, so thump the gits. So you're going to utilize your new battle mat. If you're going to play it with this, you're going to have 4 terrain cards on there, your warboss in the corner, going up against a Wraith Guard, 1 heavy weapons platform, and 3 Guardian Defenders, and a Wind Rider as well, all from your Eldari good old combat patrol. Have a bit of fun with it. You can obviously play this with different factions if you wanted to as well, and you can kind of have a bit of fun with it. And yeah, he gets a bit smashy because he's a big brutal boy. So good fun. He has some special abilities which the magazine is telling you how to utilize them here, and you get your victory conditions as well. Good times. Then on the very last page, building your challenge, so you can replay this in many different ways if you really wanted to, and you get to enjoy yourself, which is super cool. Moving on from there to next week. So paint issue, Calgar Blue and Colia Green Shade, or Celia Green Shade, whichever one you want to call it, I don't really care. It's a shade paint. It does work very well. I've got 1 or 2 pots of it already, which I must admit, it's a turquoisey paint, so using it over green doesn't really work, but utilizing it in certain areas does work, and you can get some really cool shades out of it and make it look really cool. And yeah, happy days. Calgar Blue is very good for your ultramarines, so you're going to probably be using it a fair bit on there, in all honesty. And then from there, issue 43, 10 Orc Boys, 1 issue. No splitting it up, no mucking around and giving us 5 one week and 5 the other week, or mixed sprues and all this junk, all in one go. That's much better. Very good haship artworks. That's the way you should do it. Pretty cool, and they all look different, which is the main thing for me personally. I like it when they all have a bit of a different look to them and not just uniform, boring looking units. So happy days. Anyway, if you wanted to pre-order any issues of Combat Patrol magazine, so like for instance, if you want to pre-order issue 40, extra copies of issue 43 because you want loads of Orc Boys, use the affiliate link down in the description down below, and it will take you to the page on Forbidden Planet where you can pre-order them. Obviously you have to pay postage and packaging, so there is that, but you can always pre-order yourself a few extras, which isn't always a bad idea if you want a big 40k army of one particular variety. Anyway, that is more than enough of me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.